The city called him a miracle worker. Patients traveled across continents for a single appointment with Dr. Adrian Cole, the celebrated surgeon whose gifted hands were said to rival nature itself. Politicians toasted him, tycoons donated to his hospital, and journalists lined up for glowing profiles. Yet, beneath the spotless white coat, something far darker pulsed. Late one rainy night, a lone ambulance screeched into St. Helena Private Hospital. A young woman staggered out, clutching an empty blanket, eyes wild with terror. Witnesses swore they heard her whisper, "They took her baby." The statement was dismissed as hysteria. Files vanished. Security footage failed. And Dr. Cole's reputation remained untouched. Before we dive into this story, kindly subscribe to the channel, tell us where you are watching from in the comments section, your support helps to bring more of these stories. Now let's begin. Something's wrong here. The words belonged to Ethan Cole, Adrian's only son, murmured to a friend over a late-night call. Ethan had just returned from his medical studies in London, expecting to shadow his father in theater. Instead, he found sealed wings in the hospital, unregistered surgical equipment, and a domestic staff who avoided eye contact as though language itself might betray them. Neighbors whispered of a wife, the Mrs. Cole, whose death years earlier was officially labeled a tragic accident. But an older gardener muttered that the lady had been too curious for her own good. The police? They had investigated, briefly. Case closed. Ethan pressed for answers. Some records don't match, he told a trusted nurse. There are surgeries that never appear in the logbooks. Where are the patients? The nurse's face was drained of color. She refused to meet him again. Rumors multiplied. Families claimed stillborn babies simply disappeared. Colleagues who questioned billing irregularities resigned abruptly, their careers curiously derailed. A rival surgeon, Dr. Ramesh, publicly accused Adrian of black market organ harvesting, and died weeks later in a suspicious road accident. Investigators found no proof. The city moved on. But Ethan could not. One evening, while reviewing old medical files in his father's locked study, he stumbled on a faded autopsy report, Isabella Cole, his mother. Cause of death, cardiac arrest. Yet the coroner's signature looked forged, the dates inconsistent. A second sheet, half-burned, carried a chilling line, pending report to authorities, evidence of malpractice and illegal transplants. Ethan's pulse thundered. Could his own father have silenced his mother? When he confronted Adrian, the surgeon's eyes, normally a calm surgeon's gray, flashed like scalpels catching theater light. "You're tired from traveling," Adrian said smoothly. "Don't let grief rewrite history." "But these documents..." "Old lies," his father cut in. "Dangerous lies." That night, Ethan woke to footsteps outside his room. The door handle turned, then stilled. Only the housekeeper's hurried retreat broke the silence. Detective Grace Tucker of the city's homicide unit had chased the Cole whispers for years. Each time, political pressure snuffed her investigations. Yet when an anonymous email arrived, scanned pages of Isabella's forged autopsy, a list of vanished infants, she felt the old fire ignite. Her team reopened cold files, digging into financial records and shipment manifests. But just as leads emerged, a key witness fled the country, terrified. Another vanished entirely. Grace visited Ethan discreetly. "Do you believe your father killed your mother?" she asked. Ethan hesitated. I don't know. But I think he's still doing whatever she died trying to expose." Days later, Ethan followed his father into the hospital's restricted wing, using a stolen key card. What he saw twisted his stomach. Surgical suites humming after midnight, crates marked for research, filled with refrigerated containers. He heard muffled cries from a locked recovery room. Before he could investigate, a heavy hand clamped his shoulder. Adrian stood there, immaculate as always. "Son," he said softly, "you shouldn't be here." His voice carried both menace and something else. Was it fear? Outside, thunder rolled over the city. Inside, father and son faced each other among the silent machines. "Did you kill Mum?" Ethan demanded. A long pause. Then, almost tenderly, Adrian replied, "Some truths will break you. Are you ready for that?" He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Think carefully, Ethan. Blood is thicker than law. And you are my blood." A sudden alarm blared, a security breach. Red light strobed across the corridor. In that instant, Ethan realized he might never leave the building alive. Rain lashed the city as Detective Grace Tucker's team combed through St. Helena Private Hospital. Hours earlier, an anonymous call had tipped them off to suspicious midnight activity. Yet by the time they arrived, the hidden wing was locked down, the operating suite scrubbed to a sterile shine. Not a single crate, not a single patient remained. Meanwhile, Ethan Cole barely slept. The memory of his father's quiet warning, "Blood is thicker than law," echoed like a siren in his head. He'd slipped out of the hospital moments before the police arrived, his father's final look seared into his mind, a mixture of fury and something almost pleading. The next morning, Adrian Cole sat at his polished oak dining table, sipping espresso as if nothing had happened. "You were out late," he said without looking up. "So were you," Ethan replied, his voice trembling. Adrian smiled faintly. "I told you, son, curiosity can be fatal." Ethan felt the walls closing in. Each staff member's eyes seemed to carry a warning. The chauffeur refused to drive him. The housekeeper avoided his room entirely. And every time he tried to call Detective Grace, static filled the line, as though someone were intercepting the signal. Detective Grace, meanwhile, faced her own nightmare. City officials abruptly reassigned key members of her team. A judge denied her warrant requests without explanation. And when she confronted a hospital board member about missing patient files, he simply said, "You don't understand who you're dealing with." Still, she pressed on. A forensic accountant traced millions of dollars funneled through shell companies tied to the hospital. Many payments matched the cost of illegal organ transplants on the global black market. But evidence without witnesses was paper-thin. Ethan decided to gather proof himself. One evening he tailed his father to a secluded property on the outskirts of the city. A disused maternity home shuttered years ago. Through a cracked window, Ethan filmed what looked like a clandestine surgical suite, lit by harsh fluorescent lights. Figures in surgical masks moved with practiced speed. Refrigerated units lined the walls, their hum oddly sinister. As he steadied his phone for a closer shot, a floorboard creaked. A masked guard turned. Flashlight beams sliced the darkness. Ethan ran. Branches whipped his face as he bolted into the night. Behind him, footsteps pounded. A shout rang out, "Stop or you're dead." He ducked into a drainage culvert, holding his breath until the voices faded. His phone, still recording, was his only victory. Back at the Cole estate, Adrian waited. "You think I don't know where you've been?" he asked calmly when Ethan slipped inside. "I know what you're doing," Ethan shot back. "The babies. The organs. You killed Mum because she found out." Adrian set his glass down with deliberate care. "You think morality is simple," he said. "But the world demands sacrifice. Your mother wanted to expose me. I tried to stop her, gently. She wouldn't listen." The admission landed like a scalpel to the heart. Ethan staggered. "You murdered her." "I protected our family," Adrian replied, voice low. "And I can protect you too, if you stand with me." Ethan's mind spun. Turn his father in and risk his own life? Or stay silent and become complicit? The next move had to be careful. He secretly sent his video to Detective Grace using an encrypted app, then booked a flight out of the country under a friend's name. But Adrian was always a step ahead. At the airport, two men in dark suits blocked Ethan's path. "Your father wants a word," one said, guiding him to a waiting car. Inside sat Adrian, perfectly composed. "Running solves nothing," he said. "You are my only child. Do you really believe strangers care more for you than your own blood?" Ethan clenched his fists. "You don't get to call this love." While father and son argued, Detective Grace reviewed the video Ethan had sent. Her heart raced, unlicensed surgeries, rows of labeled containers, crying infants. But just as she prepared to move, the encrypted link vanished. Her laptop screen flickered, then went black. Someone inside the department was cleaning house. Back in the car, Adrian's voice softened. "I can make all of this disappear," he said. "A new identity. Wealth. Freedom. All you have to do is walk away with me." Ethan stared out the window at the city lights, a lifetime of memories swirling, childhood laughter, bedtime stories, his mother's warm smile. And beneath it all, a rising tide of anger. "I can't," he whispered. Adrian's eyes narrowed. "Then you leave me no choice." The car slowed. Doors locked. From the front seat, one of the suited men reached for a concealed weapon. Far across town, Detective Grace's phone buzzed with a final, desperate text: "If I don't make it out, he's taking me to the old quarry." She grabbed her keys and called for backup, but every line returned static. The night stretched ahead, charged with storm clouds and dread. The black sedan roared through the sleeping city, tires hissing on rain-slicked tarmac. Inside, Ethan Cole sat rigid, wrists bound, his father silhouette a calm shadow in the glow of the dashboard. The suited guard said nothing. Only the rhythmic slap of wipers cut the silence. "Where are we going?" Ethan asked, voice steady despite the pounding in his chest. Adrian Cole didn't answer immediately. He simply adjusted his cufflinks, surgeon precise. Finally he said, "To the place where endings become beginnings. You'll understand soon enough." Detective Grace Tucker gripped the wheel of her unmarked SUV, eyes darting between the road and the final message glowing on her phone: "Old Quarry." She'd called for backup, but every channel fizzed with static. Someone high up was still blocking her. This time, she would go alone. The car turned off the highway onto a gravel track leading to a sprawling quarry long abandoned and now drowned in fog. The guards pulled Ethan out, marching him towards a corrugated iron shed crouched at the cliff's edge. Inside, floodlights blazed over gleaming surgical tables. Refrigerated units hummed like distant thunder. The smell of antiseptic couldn't mask the metallic tang of blood. "This," Adrian said, gesturing to the cold, clinical scene, "is where true healing begins. People pay fortunes for a second chance at life. I give it to them. Your mother couldn't see that. She saw murder," Ethan snapped. Adrian's eyes softened for a heartbeat. "I saw necessity. Without me, they would die. Without them, we would have nothing." A door clanged open. Detective Grace burst in, weapon drawn. "Adrian Cole. Step away from your son." The guards reached for their guns. A single shot cracked the air. One guard fell. Grace moved like lightning, keeping the others at bay. Adrian raised a hand. "Detective, you don't understand. My work saves lives. The system is broken, I simply do what it cannot." "You traffic human lives," Grace replied, voice like steel. "That's not medicine. That's murder." Ethan seized the distraction, ramming his shoulder into the second guard. The man stumbled, weapon skittering across the floor. Grace kicked it away and closed in. Adrian stepped back, eyes flicking between his son and the detective. "Ethan, tell her. Tell her you see the bigger picture. We can leave this place. Start again. Father and son." For a breathless moment, the world held still, rain drumming on the roof, fluorescent lights buzzing. Ethan felt the weight of every childhood memory, the bedtime stories, the gentle hand guiding a scalpel, the silent dinners after his mother's death. "No," he said quietly. "It ends tonight." Adrian's face hardened. He lunged for a hidden scalpel, the same instrument that had made him famous. Grace fired. The blade clattered to the floor as Adrian collapsed, crimson blooming across his white coat. He looked up at Ethan, a strange pride flickering through the pain. You have her courage," he whispered, meaning Isabella. A final breath, and the great surgeon was still. In the aftermath, investigators swarmed the quarry and the secret hospital wing. Refrigerators revealed evidence of organ harvesting and abducted infants. International agencies traced a network spanning multiple countries. Politicians who had shielded Adrian scrambled to deny their ties. For Ethan, the victory tasted bitter. He gave testimony, surrendered every recording, and endured months of questioning. The city hailed him as a hero, but sleepless nights reminded him that he had exposed not only a criminal empire but also his own father, the man who once taught him to ride a bicycle, the man who'd held his hand through childhood fevers. Detective Grace, in a televised briefing, addressed the deeper wound. Justice doesn't end with one man. It demands that we watch those in power, doctors, politicians, anyone, because corruption thrives where trust is blind. Months later, standing at his mother's grave, Ethan whispered, "It's over, Mom. He can't hurt anyone else." Yet the wind through the cypress trees seemed to carry a quieter question: was it truly over, or had the surgeon's network seeded something even larger, waiting to grow in shadow? Power without conscience is a scalpel without a steady hand. It cuts, it destroys, and it spares no one, not even family. True healing begins with courage, the courage to confront those we love when they cross the line between service and savagery. If exposing the truth meant betraying your own blood, could you do it? Or would silence feel safer, even if it let evil live on? Share your thoughts in the comments.